Hey everyone, it's Jamie from Independent Street Tarot and Seasons and Ritual, and I'm here to talk about this dark moon in Scorpio that's happening. What's happening now? It's Sunday, November 12th, and it'll also be tomorrow, Monday, November 13th. I believe when the moon is completely dark, I refer to that as the dark moon. And so it is synonymous. People say dark noon, new moon. I just say dark moon because I do believe it's a time of rest. I do believe this is when this is not belief, but it is when the sun and the moon are conjunct, so they are together. And so the moon is not illuminated. The masculine and the feminine have come together. And they are a time, it's the time of the void. It's the time that we go within. It usually lasts 2.5 days, 2 to 2.5 days, and it's time for this quiet reset, if you will. Is it a time to set intentions if you want to? Of course. Is it time to release? Sure. Whatever feels good. At this time I'm always quiet, and then when the new moon comes is when I first see the illumination. And so that's when I start working with intention. So the moon will move into Sagittarius, and so that will to me be the new moon. So right now we're in this dark moon, Scorpio. And I really feel like this is a powerful dark moon with Scorpio. I think Scorpio, first and foremost, Scorpio is fixed water. Scorpio is our feelings. Scorpio deals with death and rebirth. It's the 8th house on the astrological wheel. And it also deals with taxes or, other people's money. So you can lump that in there with our Scorpio. As Helen and I did our video, and that will be released tomorrow, and we go into, this is the first Scorpio dark moon that hasn't been tied to an eclipse for the past 2 years. So that's great. I mean, I feel pretty relieved. We're coming out of the 11/11 portal, which was really strong yesterday. It was a big portal because not only was it 11/11, but if you add up all the numbers, it ended up being another 11. So you had 3 11s yesterday. I kept saying, I got to go to the casino. I did not. And then also it's Diwali right now, which is the celebration of light. So bringing us back to the light. So this is a very strong time on the planet. This is a very strong time for manifesting. So if we can do everything we can to not get distracted, but to really concentrate on what it is that we want to manifest and work within us, we've got a lot of energy to help move this through. I do believe, like I said, Scorpio is the planet of rebirth, and I believe that we're coming into a new way of talking about Scorpio. I do believe Scorpio has had, well, it just depends. For me, he's kind of had a bad rap. But if you're a lifelong Scorpio, it might make perfect sense to you. So, but I do believe that he is being rebirthed at this time. Scorpio's original, and I'll explain. So Scorpio's original ruler was Mars, which I find very fascinating. Because Mars is that divine masculine. I mean, Mars is the masculine. I believe Mars has gone through a rebranding, if you will, which is kind of funny. I think Mars has grown up. I think he's coming into this new way of being, becoming a divine masculine. And I saw that happening to Mars when Uranus was blowing him up a few years back. I can't remember, 2019 or so, but he was with Aries. And Mars rules Aries today, and he might have been Aries' ancient ruler as well. I can't remember, but I do know he definitely rules Scorpio. But anyway, Mars and Aries were together, and Uranus was blowing him up a few years back. So, and I said, this is the rebranding of, this is the rebirth of Mars. Okay, this is him becoming a divine masculine. This was Aries at the same time as well, becoming more into that divine masculine energy, that there had to be accountability, right? And since then, we've been seeing more accountability. It wasn't overnight. It was not overnight, but we are definitely now into a time where we're starting to see accountability. You just can't do things and then just be like, well, that's done. So we are moving more into a different phase, if you will, with this masculine energy. And for all purposes, masculine energy to me is what moves us, right? Masculine energy seeds things. Masculine energy is our drive. And this feminine energy is how we receive. The feminine energy is very creative. And the more you start working with the masculine and feminine energy, you know, they have to work together. There just can't be one without the other. And then, as most things happen when you work with spirit or in with esoteric means, right? You just keep things make sense, but then they become more mysterious. You keep getting more answers, but you also get more questions, and that's that beautiful way of being, right? And so I think also that is one way we can think of Scorpio as well. It's this way of like understanding, but then wanting to know more, but still allowing that mystery to come in. Again, Scorpio is water, and water, right? Scorpio is a feminine sign, and it is ruled by the divine masculine. It is ruled by a masculine. It is ruled by Pluto now, right? So now Pluto and Mars rule Scorpio, and every time I think of the signs and I think how they have feminine and masculine traits in every single sign, and that wasn't explained to me when I was growing up and was working with astrology. You know, it was always confusing to me. You know, Aquarius is the water bearer, but it's a masculine sign, but the sign had a feminine woman, right? With the waves, with the air. And then Scorpio was a feminine sign, but it's ruled by Pluto, which is a masculine. And the more now that I'm older in working with this, with these signs and astrology in this age of Aquarius where we are now, it is just so obvious to me. It was because the whole time they were teaching us it has to be a balance of masculine and feminine energy. And so what I find beautiful about Scorpio at this time, and this idea of it being fixed water, that is where we go for that transformation. This is where we go for this rebirth. This is where we go for death. This is where we go to face ourselves and face where we are right now, and how do we feel about that. And I think it is so beautiful that it is this watery grave, if you will, but also where things are born from, right? The womb, right? We come out of this watery womb that's dark, and then here we are. And so it has to be this balance. Feelings are what we would consider feminine, right? But we have to move through these feelings, right? So it's this beautiful idea that we have that masculine side of us that's saying, yeah, you can do this, right? But it's also important for us to see like our masculine side is compassion. Our masculine side is listening. Our masculine side has feelings, right? Just like our feminine side is compassion. Our feminine side is nurturing. Our feminine side creates ways for us to express ourselves, right? And in that masculine, maybe it was, who was it? I just kind of lost my train of thought, but it was this idea of being compassionate, and how that ties into the masculine and nurturing. Maybe it was something about Pluto. I can't remember. We've done a lot of talking today. So I would like for us with this dark moon to see Scorpio in this new light, to see Mars having our back, to see Pluto understanding that it is here to change things, right, in a loving way. We always say when you look at Pluto in the planet, it's got a big heart on it. I can't make this up. It is going to the underworld and allowing that mystery to happen. Like we can always say, well, scientifically, this is what happens. But also scientifically, we understand dark matter. I mean, we don't understand dark matter. We understand that it's out there, dark matter. And in that dark matter, in that void, that's how creation starts. And I just think that's so beautiful. And I think that's really important. I think it's important for us to remember we can just be quiet or go to another space and things can regenerate. Ideas can die that don't need to be prolonged. New ideas can come up, but our feelings and our emotions, that is that is how we create. That is where we come from. When we start to get that conversation with ourselves on who we are, and we allow all those others conversations to die because it's not us. And we thought, well, maybe I can't do that. I'm not strong enough to do this. And the reality of it is, yes, you are strong enough to do this. You are strong. You have Mars behind you. You have that motivation behind you. You have that divine masculine within you that is saying, yeah, you are strong enough to do this. In order to face those emotions, and in order to show emotions, in order to speak your emotions, in order to cry, in order to say no, you have to have strength to do that. You have to be strong. You know, we can't just, we would always say like or we would think like if you were stoic or you didn't show any emotion, that was strength. And I think that is, I mean, it could be strength on one way, it could be mental illness on another way, depending where you are, you know. But the reality of it is that we're here on this planet to experience things. We're here on this planet to have emotions. We're here on this planet to show up how we need to be now. And this dark moon is telling us to take a rest, right? To take a rest in Scorpio, to go down by the water, lay by the lake. You don't, if you want to jump in the water, jump in the water, you know. At the same time, when you come out, it's going to be different. It is also important to understand, you know, the creation that comes from death, but also there's that stillness. And it's okay to be still. It's okay to call a truce. It's okay not to know what to do next. In those moments where we just take a break, again, that's where that creation comes, right? In that watery womb, right? That's where we're held, where we feel safe. That is where creation comes. So to me, this is a big dark moon in Scorpio, because Scorpio is showing up. Scorpio is showing up. And because Scorpio is showing up and we're meeting Scorpio head on, and we're saying, I'm not scared of you anymore, Scorpio. I'm not scared of my feelings anymore. I'm not scared of my emotions anymore. I'm not going to get gaslit into thinking something else when I know for a fact this is what's happening. That is us showing up as authentically, but that's that divine masculine showing up as well. That's that divine masculine showing up as Pluto as well. Pluto rules the underworld, but Pluto, that was that soft space where things you plant and it's warm so it can grow. You didn't get too far down there, because then things wouldn't grow. But Pluto is in that underworld where it takes care of things so the seeds can grow. So I'm excited for Scorpio season, for the rest of Scorpio season. I'm excited to work with Scorpion energy. You know, when I work with clients, and a lot of times, especially young clients, and they'll say, I'm a Scorpio and I don't know, I'm supposed to be like sexy, and they don't, you know, and I'm like, no, that's not exactly what to me the energy meant when they were talking about sex in Scorpio. Scorpio season and the idea of sex is the idea of sex within us, not necessarily expressing sex onto others or with others. So when you're a child and you're born and they say the sex of the baby, that is pronounced, you know, that is just what you are at that time. Scorpio, and I think most signs are very creative. But the idea of sex with Scorpio isn't about having sex with others. It is this intense creation, because you have fixed water, which is our feelings and our emotions, and then you have it ruled by two masculine signs. And so the idea within us is when that masculine and feminine starts working, when we start working with our emotions, when we start seeing who we are and we start celebrating who we are within us, we start creating, and that is our sex. It's not sex with not literal, the action. It's not the action of sex, is what I'm trying to say with others. It is the sex within ourselves. That is being creative when we're creative. And yes, you will feel that creative energy in your genitals. You know, you'll feel excited. Your stomach might get butterflies. Like you might get it, you know, you'll feel uplifted, but it is you working within you in order to create. And that is when they talk about, to me, Scorpio. And when I have this book I cleaned up because Helen was over here. Let's see if I can find it. But basically, if you're going through Scorpio correctly, it says spontaneous sex or spontaneous sexuality. And to me, it was like getting a creative idea and then acting on it, not just spontaneously having sex with another person. I don't know why we went down that road. I mean, patriarchy, I guess, right? You know, I guess. But it doesn't make any sense. It does not make any sense when we talk about sex and Scorpio. I mean, I get it. I mean, with the men, like being a man sign and like, you know, planting seeds, but it's not that simple, right? It is the idea of planting seeds within ourselves. It's the idea that working within ourselves. It's that idea of creation. If you think of you have friends that you're just great friends with and you're super creative with, right? And you have platonic friends, right? But you get together and you just bounce all these ideas off each other and it works, right? That's Scorpio. That is sex spontaneous in a way, right? But also when you're working with yourself and you get these creative urges and these creative ideas and you love yourself for them, right? You see yourself for who you are. Again, that is Scorpio. That is you expressing your sex. That is you expressing your sex as a male. That is you expressing your sex as a female. That is you expressing your sex as non-binary. You working together, you expressing yourself is your sex. I hope this is making sense. Because in my mind, it makes sense. But it's we've got to come to this new way of seeing Scorpio and the word sex as creativity within ourselves and how we express ourselves not necessarily going out and having sex with someone. Because when Scorpio is in its highest self, in Scorpio, and you are moving through the 8th house, you understand, it says your consciousness, you understand your consciousness is forever. It doesn't die. But if you are not expressing the 8th house well, you're obsessed. You're obsessed with sex. You're obsessed with death. You're scared with mystic origins or religions. You're very closed off, right? And if you're not able to express yourself, if you're not able to express your sex, just as you being you, I can see how you would be obsessed with the action of sex. So to me, it makes sense. But on one hand, it seems like they just did a really shitty job expressing that the sex needs to be how we express ourselves in our sex, basically. It's important. So now when you think of Scorpio and you think of sex, you think of expression within yourself. How do you show up and you express your sex? The earth every day, how we connect to the earth, right? The earth is always dying, rebirthing, cycles, right? And we realize that it's, it pollinates itself, it expresses itself, and it all works together. And that's how we, it's important to stick with these seasons. So it's important when fixed water comes in that we see it as that time to transmute what we don't need anymore, that time to now show up how we need to show up for the next year, right? It's about letting go. It's about letting go of the whole past year, right? It's about being who we need to be now. It's about being hyper present of the hyper focused of the present, hyper focused of the present. That is Scorpio season. What is happening now? It needs to happen now. Everything in the past needs to be let go. I have to turn over, right? I have to show up. Scorpio is on the opposite end of Taurus. Taurus is fixed earth. Earth and water, we have to work together. Those are those opposites. That is that flow. So I'm not sure if I did a good job talking about the dark moon, but I feel like it's really important that we start to see Scorpio differently instead of like this creeper, quite honestly, this creeper sign that's about death and doing it, right? Like that doesn't make any sense to me, but the idea of expressing yourself as your sex, having that death has to happen. You have to express yourself in a new way. You have to see yourself as being strong in order to show up in your emotions and to move through them. You have to understand that that feminine and masculine energies all have to work together. They can't be separate. And that is becoming more and more apparent as we move into this age of Aquarius, for sure. Well, for me anyway, and hopefully for you guys too. All right, I'm gonna probably upload. I'm probably gonna upload a what do you call it? A meditation with this new idea of Scorpio. So I'll probably upload that tomorrow though, along with Helen, and our weekly update will be posted at midnight. So, all right, you guys, happy dark moon in Scorpio. Take a rest. Tell yourselves you love yourselves. Tell yourselves that you love how you express yourself in your sex, the way you show up. Maybe do a body check in with your emotions, check in with how you feel, right? Check in with the old ways that need to go away. And so you can start feeling how you need to feel now in order to manifest and rebirth these things and allow new ideas, new emotions, new feelings to come up. Okay, guys, till then.